Hello and welcome back to my humble show. Technically, I needed to leave like 5 minutes ago, but before I go, I just want to let you know that you should like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride, just as Donald Trump did yesterday when he decided to roll around in a garbage truck after touching down on the tarmac. All of this happened after Joe Biden, who you can see on the screen literally biting a baby, called Trump supporters garbage, which Trump is now obviously capitalizing on, as he should be. Sure, it's a bit of a troll, but it's the only thing to do. Biden's administration has since attempted to spin the narrative and not just suggest, but outright say that Biden was not actually calling Trump supporters garbage, but indeed he was. And it is clear to anyone with half a clue. So whether you agree with me or not, let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. Like I said, I got to go momentarily, but I just wanted to run a few thoughts by you really quickly. I tried recording this on my way home, thinking and driving as I have been doing as of late. But it did not go so great, so here I am at home, observing and reporting. You can see a couple of images there on the screen. That's how things are going right now. Biden, as I mentioned, during a Halloween-themed White House event just last night, was biting multiple babies because trick or treat, bite a baby's feet. Why not? Yeah. Meanwhile, Trump was hopping into a garbage truck and answering questions from the press. I know that image isn't such a close-up, but you can just make out the orange vest on him, which he wore during his speech afterwards. So if I'm not mistaken, he was flying to Wisconsin to give this speech when his team told him it might be a good publicity stunt, though they probably wouldn't call it that, to hop in a garbage truck and roll around for a bit once you touch down. And he said, sure, why not? So he did just that. He stumbled and climbed into this garbage truck. I say stumbled because, once again, a narrative is being spun that he is kicking the casket or something like that. So I didn't even catch this part of it all until last night. But apparently, when he reached for the door handle of the truck, his hand slipped and he stumbled back a bit, lost his balance before catching it, and climbing in to this, tall task of a garbage truck. Now, left-wing media doesn't want you to focus on the fact that he did, in fact, climb into this garbage truck. They want you to focus on the fact that he stumbled. And yes, indeed, he did. But it was wet out. It had been raining. It was a bit slippery, like that one ramp a few years back. And so, like in unison, the propagandists of the left were claiming stunning footage, shocking footage, Donald Trump barely able to walk. I kid you not, that's what they were saying. And it's ridiculous. This coming from the same people who claimed that Joe Biden was as fit as a fiddler on a roof while he was falling, like literally dropping like a bag of rocks on various occasions on stage, upstairs, off bicycles, that sort of thing. Yeah, the same people who were claiming that there was absolutely nothing to see there, they're claiming that Donald Trump is on death's doorstep now because he simply stumbled. So he has actually been telling this story since in his latest speeches, saying that he was a little bit nervous when he was approaching this garbage truck because, again, it was a tall task, and he knew he had to climb up into it, and he didn't want anything to happen because he knew that it would be nonstop coverage, just like it would have been if he would have fallen on that one ramp a few years back. So I keep highlighting that one ramp because I don't know if you remember this, but I certainly do. A few years back when he was president, there was a slippery ramp. Not a very steep slope, but a slippery ramp nonetheless. So he was walking down it in a pair of slippery shoes, and he was holding onto the rail as he went down. He obviously didn't want to slip and fall, but the coverage afterwards was that he could barely walk. He could barely walk down this slightly sloped ramp. There was also the time when he used two hands to lift a glass to his mouth to take a drink, and then the coverage afterwards was how he could barely lift a glass. He was barely strong enough to lift a glass, therefore he was unfit to be president. Time to get him up and out of there. And again, these same people are the ones who spent the last 4 years claiming that Joe Biden was a spring chicken, still kicking. Well, sure, he's still kicking, but barely. Maybe kicking and screaming in the basement somewhere since he has been kicked to the curb. But yeah, he's having these incidents, these issues, these publicity stunts gone wrong, where he's biting babies, where he's calling Trump supporters garbage. That just a week after he said that Donald Trump needed to be locked up. Of course, his administration attempted to spin that as well. But yeah, so Kamala Harris is trying somewhat to distance herself from him. She hasn't had him out campaigning for her. With reason, for a reason. But she claims that he clarified his remarks about Trump supporters being garbage. Now, he lied about it, or his team lied, his cleanup crew lied. She's claiming that she's the one who's going to bring us all together. Of course, just days ago, she was calling Donald Trump a fascist during a town hall, and Tim Walz, her VP pick, was suggesting, as Hillary Clinton outright claimed, that the Madison Square Garden rally hosted by Donald Trump in New York over the weekend was just a Nazi reenactment. So yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. They're such hypocrites. They claim 1 minute that they were bringing us all together, that they're so different. Then the next moment, of course, they're calling Trump a fascist, Hitler, whomever. I'm just not buying it. Something I also saw just a few minutes ago. Mark Cuban, a big surrogate for Kamala's campaign, said that Donald Trump never has strong, intelligent women around him ever. So that's not going over too well. That's insulting to quite a few women, like Tulsi Gabbard, for example. There you go. Yeah, rhetoric is in the air. So is a lot of hate, which is why Joe Biden said what he said about Trump supporters being garbage, which, once again, he did indeed say. Say what you may. Feel free to disagree with me on anything I've said. Let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. I really need to go, like 5 minutes ago. But the show must go on. What else did I have? I was listening to the new podcast, the new Joe Rogan podcast, which dropped earlier this morning with J.D. Vance. So first it was Trump, now it's Vance. It's over 3 hours long. I've had it on 2 times speed. I was listening to it at work just before I came home for my lunch break. Got to finish it now. Interesting stuff. Much more interesting, at least in a good way, than it would have been if Kamala Harris and or Tim Walz would have gone on his show. The offer was extended to them. But again, like I've already said, they couldn't agree to terms and conditions. They were actually in Texas. Well, Kamala Harris was in Texas just recently, and the door was open to her. But she didn't want to make it happen. Instead, she wanted Joe Rogan to later fly to her and then interview her for only an hour with all of her staff surrounding them and waving their arms, presumably, trying to wrap it up as quickly as possible for fear of it going poorly for her, as it probably would. So they couldn't work that out. She's not going to go on there. I believe Trump's podcast with Rogan now has over 40 million views on YouTube alone. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. We'll see how far Vance's makes it. I was seeing something about search censorship in regards to the Trump podcast. I don't know how much truth there is in that. Sometimes it's just, an algorithmic issue. Sometimes there is actual suppression. But again, I'm just going with what I know here, and speculate all you want. What else? Really, that's it. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I have to go to work. Yeah. Who do you think's going to win? I'd be happy to hear from you. For now, just let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. Like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Keep in touch, keep in tune. New content is coming soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace. It's somewhere on the screen here. There we go.